J. Paul, our director, if we can see our special guest. He is the honorable member of the Board of Commissioners over there. Paul Gibson, Commissioner from Guilford County. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you. Glad to be with you
Good
today.
to see you.
Thank you.
Back in August, our friend Skip Austin, who's been on this show before, said that Guilford was in good condition, but then the media sort of jumped on Skip a little bit and said, well, wait a minute, you said it's in good condition, but then you said there's a debt crisis. Sort this out for me.
Well, I think it's both. I think by and large, Guilford County is weathering the economic downturn as well as can be expected, but at the same time, we do have some debt that we have incurred through voter-approved bonds.
But then somebody looking might say, well, Jim, ask this. I mean, you can just feel people coming through the camera asking me to ask you this. Well, gee, Mr. Commissioner, if we're in good shape, how can you be in good shape if you got too much debt?
Well, I don't know that we have too much debt. We have debt, voter-approved debt.
Right, with bonds and stuff.
Exactly, to build schools and to build a new detention facility downtown. And
which we needed.
Which we were under court order almost to build, so.
Right.
Exactly. So, debt necessarily is not a bad thing, and that's how we in this country have chosen to build our public buildings, is through bond initiatives and that sort of thing.
Right.
So we do have some debt coming due this next year, about $28 million. And the choice for the voters is how they want to pay for it.
And that brings me to the next question, which is there's been some talk about those of you on the board suggesting a sales tax hike of like a quarter of a cent. Did I get that right? A quarter of a cent?
A quarter-cent sales tax, and that's on the ballot for November for the voters to decide, yes.
And I mean, do you think that that's going to pass? Or?
It's been on the ballot twice before and it did not pass, but I'm not sure that we did a real good job of selling it before. And the one thing that I would caution people to remember is not whether or not we're going to have a tax increase. We're going to have a tax increase. We've got to pay for these schools. We've got to pay for the detention facility. It's how do you want to pay for it? Do you want to pay for it with a property tax increase or with a sales tax increase as part of that equation?
Well, if you present it that way, I mean, the voters are going to have to make a choice, and that's a tough choice, I know, but still, if for some reason they rejected it this fall, you might have to come back later and say, okay, instead of a quarter-cent tax, it's going to be a half-cent.
No, we don't have that option.
You don't?
The state of North Carolina only gives us the option to raise it 1/4 cent. And that was done 3 years ago when they took the Medicaid payments from the counties.
That's right.
Yeah.
But you can't. But could you also concurrently do something with the property tax rate as you're doing the quarter cent?
And we will probably have to do that.
So that would be a piggyback thing that we don't want at the same time necessarily.
Well, not necessarily. To raise $12 million, and that's what the quarter-cent sales tax would raise in a year's time, you'd have to raise property taxes about 3 cents.
Okay, I'm with you.
So it's a combination of the two.
Well, let me get on to something else. Any new economic development prospects on the way? I know you can't divulge things that are confidential, but how are we looking?
I would divulge them if I knew about them, and I'm not aware of anything that's on the horizon. It's really slowed down. The economy, and especially in the Piedmont Triad area, is really suffering right now. I wish I could tell you that there was a big project on the horizon, but I don't think that's the case.
Well, one thing that can draw jobs, and we've seen it happen before, is if you have a good infrastructure and a good transportation network. And one thing I want to ask you real quickly is how important you think it is that PART is providing regional transportation for workforce and other people that are trying to get to jobs. Maybe they've been laid off, they're trying to find another job somewhere else. How important is all that?
It's incredibly important, and we're very fortunate to have PART and the transportation component part that they do in helping this area. We're very, very fortunate. When I travel around the country and talk to other commissioners, the one thing I hear more than anything else is if we only had good transportation systems, if we only had good interstate systems. We have that. And we have a real special partner helping us try to grow this area with PART.
Well, speaking of that, let's give a shout out to Brent McKinney and the good folks at PART. The website is up on the screen if you want to check schedules and find out where you can pick up various rides, and it's a good way to save money and save time and help the economy and the environment. And it's www.partnc.org. And I hope you'll come back sometime. We'll talk some more.
Love to. Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Good to see you.
We'll be right back.